Hello everyone, welcome to the channel of MeteoMark Weather. It's great to have you on here today. We have a tremendous amount to talk about in the tropics. Most importantly, Invest 97L, that is going to be heading out into the Western Caribbean, into the Eastern and Central Gulf. This will likely become our next tropical storm and hurricane, and could it become a major hurricane here in the Gulf? We have all the details. Let's get into it. So starting off here with our visible satellite photo, you can see what's going on. We have a very broad area circulation here, just northeast and northeast of Honduras and Nicaragua here. So we're watching this. Lots of thunderstorm and shower activity here. Moving towards Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, you're getting some rain here in many of these areas over the next couple of days. And here we go with our Invest 97L system, continuing with the infrared satellite view. You can see an explosion of showers and thunderstorms on the eastern side of the circulation. Here's Jamaica and Cayman Islands again. You can see this thing is going to be heading slowly to the northwest here towards the northwestern Caribbean and eventually the eastern Gulf later this week. So starting off with the European model here, and then we'll progress over towards the GFS. So here's our big area. We're looking at a solid 80 to maybe as much as 90% here as we continue in time of the Western Caribbean, Northwestern Caribbean, Eastern Gulf of Mexico. This is where we're going to be looking at our low pressure initializing. This is Invest 97L. Here it is on the 24th, so going out a couple days, right to the west of Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, right around just east of Belize here. So it's going to go right down the center of guidance here on our European run. You can see it emerging into the Gulf of Mexico just northeast of Cancun by this point. This is on the 25th at 2 p.m. So as we continue to go out here in time, the Euro has been very consistent run to run with bringing this into the Eastern Gulf, intensifying it into a hurricane here by the 26th into the 27th. You can see it's just west of Tampa by this point. So just a slight wobble can make a huge difference in what part of the Florida coastline this would reach and impact the worst. So here it is as we head into the 26th. What are we looking for landfall time frame? Probably around, depending on which part of the coast, 26th to 27th. Here it is on the 27th at 2 a.m. European has been very consistent with bringing this into from the Panhandle southeastward here. Towards the peninsula just north of Tampa. So big circulation. Don't focus on the actual point, the actual eye, because this is going to be a massive system by any stretch of the imagination here. So the 27th into the 28th, look at it heading right towards Atlanta here. So it really starts to accelerate, which is good. So it's going to limit the tremendous rainfall amounts. I still think we'll see some areas close 12 to 15 inches of rain, but here it is. The rain is really booking it inland by this point, and watch this. It's going to continue to head north pretty progressively towards the Ohio and upper Mississippi River valleys as we head through the 28th and the 29th. We're still looking at tropical moisture here across much of Florida, so that is something we're going to have to keep a very close watch on. So there it is. Yeah, we're going to be watching this one very closely throughout this week. Here we are with our GFS run. You can see really getting organized here, Invest 97L across the Western Caribbean near Nicaragua and Honduras. As we head throughout the 23rd, you can see that low pressure system and trying to initialize here. So it's going to be interesting to see if in the next 48 hours we can get that closed circulation. Tremendous feeder bands on the east side towards Jamaica and the Cayman Islands. So here it is. The GFS has been trending slightly east here, and this is a trend we'll have to keep an eye on. It's also intensifying it much quicker. We're going to take a look at those sea surface temperatures, upper level wind shear and dry air in a couple minutes here and see exactly how this could play out. But there it is. It's showing it as a big hurricane just east of Cancun by the 24th at 11 p.m. here. Heading right into the Eastern Caribbean, or the Eastern Gulf of Mexico for that matter, here towards the 25th at 11 a.m. And look at that. It's forming an eye, 980 millibars. It's intensifying very rapidly here. And as we put this into motion, here's the 25th at 11 p.m. It's deep. It's continuing to deepen. It's very close to the European model. At this point, though, you can see it's heading just a little bit west of where the European was. You can almost see, though, there isn't a lot of steering currents here. There is a trough kind of up in this region, in this area, so it will help steer it towards the Eastern Gulf, it's looking like. So we're going to continue to watch this. I don't see any major blocking high at this point towards the northeast, but look at this. As we head towards the 26th at 2 p.m., 960 millibars. This could be heading towards major hurricane status as we head into the northeastern Gulf here. And here it is. The GFS has this west of the European model, right in the area, Panama City, Tallahassee area, Apalachicola here. Yeah, this could be quite a big hit if this were to verify. You can see this heading towards the coastline northeastward here, inland, towards the Atlanta area. So very similar in model run consistency here between the two models. And you can see that heads up towards the Ohio Valley into parts of the upper Mississippi River Valley as we head in time. And don't forget, before we continue with more model coverage on our potential hurricane, if you made it this far in the video and you like it, smash that like button, everyone. It really does help. Question or comment down below. I love to read your questions or comments. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe and bell notification button so you're alerted with all my future weather video updates. And I know some of you have said that you have not been receiving notifications until 16 to 24 hours later. I am currently looking into that. Hopefully we can find some kind of fix because I know this is becoming a more persistent problem. Let's continue. And our sea surface temperatures are just continuing to warm up here. Look where our Invest 97 system will be headed. This is really disturbing. This is a tremendous amount of sea surface content. And look what's happening out here in the MDR as well. This is really not looking good. We could see some explosive development as we go forward. So if we take a look at our mid-layer and upper layer of dry air analysis here, with it starting off with the GFS, this is thanks to TropicalTidbits.com. We're going to be looking at our Invest 97L system. The dry air starts to retreat out ahead of it. So we got tremendous tropical moisture. There's the GFS showing a hurricane right out of the gate here into the northwestern Caribbean, intensifying. Look at this run. This is like 935 millibars. Wow. At this point, the dry air doesn't really start to wrap in around behind it until after it makes landfall. So the damage will be done by that point. GFS hasn't making it landfall as a 935 millibar low. This is really disturbing. But look at that. The dry air doesn't start to follow it in behind it till after landfall. Look at out here into the tropics. We're looking at less dry air. That dust is lifting. Also, look at this surge of moisture just continuing. Let's get that out of the way. If we can get, there we go. So surge of moisture continuing across the northwestern Caribbean and southern and eastern Gulf. And then our Cape Verde season really starts to take off here, just one right after another. We do get some recurvature out here. That's great news. Dry air heading into the Lesser Antilles. But look what follows in behind it. Another system potential. That potentially forming into a hurricane and recurving. But look at this. We could be looking at another Gulf system by the first and second week of October. All right, so our European model as we head throughout this week, you can see development will be a little bit slower here on the European model than the GFS. But there it is as we get through Thursday, entering the Gulf of Mexico. And there we go. Let's just continue here with our European run. That pushing towards Florida as we head into Friday, September 27th. There it has it a 989 millibar low. So yeah, significantly weaker than the GFS. Dry air coming in quicker, but just prior to landfall. So we'll have to keep an eye on these trends. We'll be monitoring this very closely. There's the Cape Verde season really taking off here on the European model. And there it is. Yeah, we're looking at a tremendous amount of wave action. We're going to be looking at this season really extending well into November as well. So let's take a look at our wind shear analysis. We don't have too much wind shear to talk about with this system. Out here in the Cape Verde Islands, we have moderate wind shear, but most of this, is actually associated with this high pressure system out here. So we'll be watching. That's going to be very favorable, so very minimal wind shear. And then look at our system getting pummeled up here across the Western Caribbean. You don't see hefty wind shear until you get here across the Gulf Coast states. So it's got a perfect trajectory here across the Eastern Gulf where there's little to almost no wind shear. You can see we don't start to get wind shear infringing on it until we get towards landfall there. So unfortunately, this thing's going to be allowed to strengthen. Look at out here, though. The anticyclonic nature of this high pressure out here is going to keep these systems very, very well sheltered. And we could be lining up 3 systems here by the time we get towards the end of the month here. And here we go with our GFS run. As we continue throughout the week, you can see the GFS continuing to show some wind shear here across the northeastern Gulf, but almost no wind shear here across the southeastern Gulf. Very favorable development out here in the Cape Verde Islands. Do not see any reason why these can't develop into tropical storms and hurricanes. But look what the GFS does here later in the week. It weakens the wind shear across the northeastern Gulf to almost nothing. So this is why the GFS is really intensifying the system. That basically that area of the strongest wind shear pushes well to the north there with the jet stream. And as we continue to go out here in time, yeah, things do become a little bit more favorable for development. Look at the wind shear towards September 30th. This looks more reminiscent of, say, August rather than the beginning of October. This is kind of crazy that you have to go this far north for the wind shear. Now, as we do get towards the first week of October here, that wind shear does start to drop into the northern Gulf. But look how hospitable it is across the Caribbean through the Cape Verde Islands. I do expect this area to really heat up as we head through the first and second week of October. All right, so the rest of the tropics on your European run here, take a look at this. So, yeah, as we go out here in time, behind our main hurricane system here, the 26th and 27th, we do have another tropical wave here moving through the Lesser Antilles into parts of Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. That will lift off a little bit towards the north here and then start to affect parts of Jamaica, maybe the Cayman Islands. But one thing to note here, look at the stream of tropical moisture here behind our what's left of our hurricane out here into the Mississippi River Valley. Look at this surge of moisture. Also, these tropical waves lining up, and if we can actually track those all the way to the east here, we'll be watching this area in the MDR for some potential development. Look at that. So some of these will be recurving out into the MDR of the Atlantic and out into, fish storm territory. So as we head towards the 28th, the 29th, into the 30th, look at this. Big tropical wave here near Jamaica, here into the southwestern Gulf. And then look at these waves out here. This is a massive wave southwest of the Cape Verde here. And some of these systems, as I said, will try to recurve. We'll be watching the potential here off the southeast coast again. Some of these thunderstorms get spun up this time of year and they form tropical systems or even subtropical systems. But as we head towards the end of the month here, we're going to be looking at these waves just lining up. So the tropics are really going to start to explode as we head towards October 1st here. And looking at the rest of the tropics here on the GFS model, you can see, yeah, behind it, it looks like these feeder bands continue northward across Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, at least through the 26th here. And we do have some crossover moisture into the Bay of Campeche from the eastern Pacific here from some of these systems. Well, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. It does start to clear out across the Caribbean as we head into the 27th, 28th, and 29th. Until we get to the 30th, you start to see evidence of another big wave. We got to watch these southern Caribbean waves this time of year because they do try to flare up and maybe head northwestward, as this one could eventually do as we head through October 4th here. We might be watching another Gulf potential system. Now, as we head out here, we got a couple other areas we're going to be watching out here into the MDR. So this system that's coming off the Cape Verde Islands here, as we head into the 24th, the 25th, and 26th, it's likely this could become a tropical storm and a hurricane. The good news is, look what starts to happen around this high-pressure system. You do start to get this system being pulled up into the westerlies and a trough across the parts of the MDR here. Now, look at here. Behind it, another system trying to develop, and even another big wave coming off the coast of Africa here. So the Cape Verde season is really going to heat up big time here. This system, GFS, is hinting that we might have to watch out the first week of October here because it starts to try to bounce south before intensifying rapidly and bouncing back northward here. One thing to note, over here into the Gulf, I left you off with our potential eastern Gulf of Mexico hurricane here. And here it is strung out on the 4th. Watch what the GFS does with it. Here it is, redeveloping it here into parts of the Bay of Campeche and then bringing it up as a potential tropical system towards the panhandle of Florida with tremendous tropical moisture in some of the same areas. This is pretty far out, so take it with a grain of salt, but it is interesting that the Gulf seems to be open for business even through the first and second week of October. So as we look at the Caribbean here, Central America, Jamaica up through the Cayman Islands this week, that is where you're going to see 100, some of these areas 150 millimeters here west, especially west of Jamaica. Now, Jamaica, you could see about 100 millimeters. That's going to be about 4 inches on average. For the Cayman Islands, you could see upwards of 150 millimeters here. Up to the western tip of Cuba, we could be looking at rainfall amounts of 6 to 8 inches here. Now, Central America is going to get off a little bit easier here down through Nicaragua, Honduras, Belize, the Yucatan Peninsula. Still looking at about 100 to 125 millimeters of rainfall. So still about 4, 5, maybe 6 inches, 6 inches in some of these locations. As we head to the Eastern Caribbean here through the Bahamas, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Virgin Islands, we're going to be seeing a big increase here of rainfall. There's the northern and western Bahamas. You'll be seeing that with the eastern feeder bands of that hurricane in the Gulf. But look at this. As we head through this week into the following week, we're going to be looking at a lot of tropical wave action from the Cape Verde Islands, upwards of about 50, 60, maybe 70 millimeters, 1.5 inches in many of these areas. And look at this. As we head towards the end of the month into the beginning of October, I think these tropical waves, some of them will become tropical storms or hurricanes. Through Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Haiti, Virgin Islands, you'll be looking at about 80 millimeters on average here, right around 2.5, 3 inches. Down through Trinidad, Tobago, a little bit less, but you'll be looking about 40, 50, maybe 60 millimeters, about 3/4 to 1 inch on average. And let's take a look at our rainfall throughout this week. As you can see, the heartland here, the plains up through the Ohio Valley, especially Monday night, Tuesday into Wednesday, that surges into the mid-Atlantic and Northeast, but all eyes are going to be on the Gulf Coast region, especially Alabama, Florida, Mississippi, maybe as far west as Louisiana. We'll have to see what happens with our storm, and that rainfall is going to be moving north. Look at this. Tremendous amounts of rainfall here across the southeast, all the way up into the Mississippi and Ohio River Valley, even the Carolinas. We're going to have to watch out here. Many areas eclipsing 6 to as much as 15 inches of rain. Up here in the Ohio Valley in the Northeast, I think you'll see a general 1 to 2 inches this week. As we continue with our future radar here, we got some rainfall moving towards the Ohio Valley, Eastern Great Lakes region as we head, say, the evening hours into the overnight. We got some stronger thunderstorms here across the southern plains, so we'll need to watch out for that. Some gully washers popping up down here in South Florida. But here it is, that frontal boundary moving on the Cleveland, Mansfield, Akron area as we head throughout the overnight into Monday morning here. So we have some showers moving through the area. Here's 7 a.m., and then we head through 1 p.m. on the 23rd here. So look at this. We might be lining up some shower activity across parts of New York and Pennsylvania here. It's something we'll keep a very close watch on. But, some beneficial rains might kick up from this. And as we head through midnight, Monday night, here it is, we start to get a surge of, say, some tropical moisture. That's heading towards parts of Ohio. Eventually, Cleveland here, you get some scattered showers and thunder showers into the 8 a.m. range on Tuesday morning. So this will be a better shot of rain here Tuesday especially. And look at here across Texas, the thunderstorms getting ramped up. And look at the moisture here across parts of the Bahamas up through the Gulf of Mexico. This is well in advance of our Invest 97L system. All right, so picking up where our future radar left off as we continue through the 24th here into the 25th, you can see what's happening here. Our Ohio Valley Midwest low really starts to push some moisture in here on especially Tuesday into Ohio, Indiana, and parts of western New York, western Pennsylvania, down and through the Appalachians here. So that will bring some wet weather, maybe 1 to 2 inches of rain across these areas. Some of these areas have been really dry. And then we start to get a surge of tropical moisture from the Gulf well ahead of our potential hurricane down here. So all eyes are going to be on this system. And look at this. Well before it makes landfall, look at this moisture all the way up to the Ohio Valley. This is a bit disturbing because this is going to already saturate the ground well ahead of this potential hurricane. We do have a system here into northern New England, so that'll pivot a trough through the area. But as I said before, the big show is going to be down here across the eastern Gulf. And then once this moves inland through the 27th into the 28th, we get into next weekend, we're going to be looking at a lot of inclement weather from the Mississippi, Ohio River valleys down in through the Carolinas, and that moisture belt continuing through Florida. Look at the common theme so far. This tropical season has been this big blocking high to the northeast. This system can't really lift out. It's kind of stuck here across the eastern part of the U.S., and that's just going to continue to stall and bouts of tropical moisture will continue to pinwheel. We got a little trough here across parts of the Appalachians, and we'll be watching for some potential development here on the southeast coast as we continue through the end of the month here. So look at that. You can see the moisture cannot make it into the northeast because of this big blocking high. It makes it as far east as Ohio. And getting into Canada here, let's see what kind of weather we've got going on. So as we head through the 23rd here, we do have a frontal boundary, same one that's moving through eastern part of the United States here, up and through parts of Quebec and southeast Ontario. That's going to continue eastward. It's going to bring some beneficial rain. If we look at the coastline of British Columbia, though, this is where the stormy weather is going to be. We'll be looking at rainfall amounts upwards of 100 to 200 millimeters the next, say, couple weeks, and yeah, about a week and a half. And then that continues to push inland here through the 25th. You see, we have another disturbance continuing across parts of eastern Canada here. Look at this big blocking high to the east, though. It's keeping New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, Newfoundland here, all the Canadian Maritimes pretty dry through this forecast period. This trough does try to kick east, though, as a cutoff low across New Brunswick, Nova Scotia here towards the 26th. And we do get a little bit of a trough here moving through Manitoba. Nothing really that major, though. And as we continue through the 27th into the 28th, you can see high pressure. There's that big blocking high across eastern Canada. It's going to force these systems up and over this ridge towards Hudson Bay. So unfortunately, we're going to really dry things out here across much of Canada. Look at this, all the way to the coastline of British Columbia as well. Now, we do have a chance of showers and storms here across parts of southern, southwestern Ontario through the end of the month, the 30th into the 31st. And look what starts to form here. We might see some break here in some of the weather here for some heavy precipitation. We'll be watching this big low bomb out across the northern plains of the United States. This could push moisture up into Manitoba and western Ontario. Canadian precipitation here, we are looking at the west coast of Canada, British Columbia to be exact here, looking at 100 to 200 plus inches, should say millimeters of rainfall here. Yeah, that's going to be a lot, 4 to 8 plus inches. Now, the eastern provinces of Canada this week, we're going to be looking at about 45 to as much as 70 millimeters. Some areas, that's going to be about 3/4 to 1.5 inches of rain. So watch out. We're going to be getting some beneficial rains. But yeah, the big story is going to be the west coast of Canada. And Western Pacific here, we're looking at the only system we really have here is Tropical Depression 17. It's not likely to become much of anything. That's pushing inland towards China. Just tremendous heavy rain with this. We'll be going over those rainfall amounts in about a minute here. But here across the Philippines, especially the northern Philippines, at least the next couple days, you get a little bit of a break. We'll be watching a low pressure across the southern Japanese islands here that may try to spin up here. This is the 24th into the 25th. It looks a little more synoptic, though, so it may become something subtropical, but definitely not tropical like a typhoon or anything like that. So as we continue to go out here in time through the end of the month, you can start to see we get these big broad-based low-pressure systems that are going to stall and kind of push towards the west and then eventually the northeast. It looks like much of South Korea through this forecast period stays mostly dry until about, say, the 30th into the 31st. This may try to come back a little bit to the north here. Japan, unfortunately, all the way down through Thailand, southeastern China, Taiwan, all the way up through this region. This is going to be the conveyor belt of moisture as we continue in time. And look at this by this point. The Philippines towards October 1st starts to look a little bit better here. But there it is. It looks like we just do the loop here. Philippines, at least through the next week, you do start to get a little bit of a break until about the 28th, where we start to see a surge in tropical moisture. And here across eastern China and South Korea, we do start to get these spin-ups towards Japan. We'll be watching for some tropical moisture towards the end of the month into the beginning of October. And Southeast Asia here, look at this. Yeah, this tremendous conveyor belt of moisture is going to continue from Vietnam, Thailand area, all the way up through Taiwan, southern and southeastern China, even parts of South Korea, the southern Japanese islands here. This is where we're going to be looking at a solid 125 to as much as 200 millimeters. Some of these areas could get as much as 6 to 12 inches of rain. So this is not looking very good. Now, the northern Philippines, you're going to start to get more here, 100 and 150 millimeters. Even the southern Philippines here, you're getting hit with another monsoon band here of close to 150 millimeters. So we're looking at solid amounts here, anywhere from about 6 to 10 inches, locally higher amounts. Lots of tropical moisture here into the western Pacific. And before we continue with more weather, check out these awesome, amazing maps that you won't find anywhere else.
I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease, or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code.
So starting off with our temperatures here for the week. Look at this. We have a lot of warmth across the South, Gulf Coast states in the 90s. Look at this cooler air, though, from the Midwest, even the central states here, through the Great Lakes and Northeast into the 60s. This is going to feel fall-like just in time for our first day of fall into Tuesday. Look at this. Yeah, holding on to some 60s into the Northeast, 90s along the Gulf Coast, 70s stretching through the heartland into the Midwest. Look at this. As we head into Wednesday, the clouds and the precipitation are going to keep things down into the 60s. All eyes are going to be on the Gulf Coast, though, as we watch our potential tropical storm or hurricane developing. 60s holding on to the Northeast. And look at that, 70s. If you're in the Ohio Valley or Northeast, eastern Great Lakes region, yeah, you're going to be in the 70s most of the week. It's going to be beautiful. Into Saturday, next Saturday for the weekend, we're warming it up a little bit towards 70 throughout the Northeast. And look at this, lots of 70s, even across parts of the Deep South. Extended forecast from our hometown viewers, beginning to Scranton, Susquehanna, River Valley, New York, and Pennsylvania. Yeah, we have showers moving in for Monday into Tuesday and Wednesday, most importantly, as well. So we got some beneficial rains coming our way, so watch out for the wet weather as we head Monday. Tuesday, scattered showers. Wednesday, an all-day rain event into Thursday. That keeps the temperatures down into the 60s through the first part of the week. But look at by Thursday and Friday, warming up to near 70. Much nicer for Friday. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MeteoMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, Super Thanks. You can smash that Super Thanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks, everyone. Share that video. Subscribe if you haven't. Smash that like button.